Joining us now to talk about this very issue is Ron Barr. He is the head of the Greater Ottawa Truckers Association. Welcome, Ron. Thanks for calling in.
Nick, it's a pleasure to speak on the subject.
Now, look, being a former truck driver myself, I can commiserate. I know what it's like to have to jump through all the hoops that governments of all kinds of stripes in state and provinces all across this continent of ours can put truck drivers through. But this seems to me to be beyond even that.
Well, Nick, I've got to take you right back to where my position and what my involvement is with the subject. It was last year when we were working with the city. When I took over the position 18 months ago, we made a pact that we'd make friends, if you will, with everybody that we had to deal with. We changed our tactics. We wanted to be more amicable, more in a negotiative way. And when I received the snow list last year, I discovered there was 34 different companies from Quebec on the snow list. So we convened a meeting, our board and us. We convened a meeting with the city staff, Eli Alchantieri, who was the deputy mayor at the time,
right,
and John Manconi was in charge, Jeff Burns, etc. Mm-hmm. And we questioned why they were on there. And basically what it came down to was they really didn't know why. And when Eli Alchantieri, I remember him pounding his fist on the table and asking staff, why are we catering to the French companies, and why are we even calling them? I remember Mr. Manconi said because we would receive calls. Subsequent to that, I went to jobs protection, which replaced fairness as a two-way street. It's basically somewhat of a watered-down fairness.
Right.
We discovered that 32 of the 34 companies that were registered to work for the City of Ottawa moving snow weren't even registered to work in Ontario.
Never mind. Yeah, okay.
So which unbelievable due diligence on behalf of the city. So we kept going back and forth until Mr. Burns, to his credit, and he was telling me the truth, and I've got letters to back it up. He puts in front of us the card he was able to play, and it was called the Discrimination Act, which discriminates against all the race, creed, and also geographical, which basically meant he was not permitted to disqualify anybody from Quebec. So what I've been doing since, Nick, is we've been making a little bit of noise with the subject. We've been going back and forth with all the different players to the point we've made suggestions to city staff, not so much the mayor, but city staff. Let's put a moratorium on the list. Let's cut the list back because it's growing too big.
Right.
Our guys are only getting 6 shifts. A lot of guys aren't even thinking of insuring their trucks this year because it's just not worth it.
Right.
And we wanted to back it up 4 years because about 4 years ago there was a big snowstorm and everybody piled in. Now, the difference between Ontario and Quebec is Ontario, you just have to come and register, show your paperwork. If we were to go over there, we would not even be considered for a position. They say we can register, but the chances of getting a call from them is next to nothing. So, it's come to a point, Nick, where in dealing with jobs protection, they've told me that the subject of the border crossing or the interprovincial crossing is at a boiling point right now. I have had more people call me up encouraging me to keep going, and it's just come to a point where we've had enough. We've got to make a stand like we did a number of years ago when we literally dumped manure to block the bridges to prevent the Quebec guys from coming over. I literally have Quebec guys calling some of my area contractors, got to establish the rate of $83 an hour. They'll come over here and sell their services for $78. And, Nick, if you've owned a business, if I can hire you for $78 versus $83,
yep.
78 is pretty attractive. There's no economic benefit with them coming over. They don't buy our gas here. They don't employ locally. They don't even pay taxes to the City of Ottawa, yet they're able to come be an equal to us. One thing further, Nick, it was discovered through working with the Jobs Protection that there are some Quebec companies that have registered 3 different names. So shame on them when the president of our association, Maynard Thompson, who's been moving snow since it was horse and buggy, he literally has to wait 4 turns to get one, and he's a taxpayer forever in the City of Ottawa. So you know what? Enough is enough is enough. The crap has to stop.
Now, my call this morning, of course, is for the mayor to stand up and come to the defense of his own constituents. Do you think there's any realistic chance of that happening?
Well, you know what? I have to take some of the grief. Yeah, he's got to take it on because I was dealing with staff and I was dealing with the deputy mayor at the time. The mayor is certainly familiar with the hot subject. I was told, likely in confidence, and I won't reveal a source, that there's several thousand employees working for the City of Ottawa.
Yeah,
Zero work from Ontario in the other side. And you know what? It annoys me when I listen to newscasts and traffic reports. The bridges to Quebec are full. Yeah, right on, towing our tax dollars over there, and again, no economic benefit. And it just annoys me if they're going to build another bridge just to be able to transport workers to and from Quebec to work for the City of Ottawa. It's absolutely ridiculous. So does he have to stand up? You're damn right he does.
Well, to be fair, now some of those would be federal employees out of his control. But
yes.
I think you do make a very valid point. It should be policy. Now, I'm not saying you should never go outside the jurisdiction. Because there's some times when if we get a major snow dump and we just don't have the physical carrying capacity to deal with it, and we have an emergency on our hand, okay, fine. Bring in trucks from wherever you have to clean the city up. I get that.
Yes.
But in a normal winter, and you would know better than I do, but it seems to me there's plenty of trucks around to deal with whatever happens in the city without ever having to go over to Quebec.
Oh, no questions, Nick. You know what? You're right. I even have area contractors here that will only hire Quebec trucks, and it's a shame when I have guys that are saying they've had the softest summer they've ever had in the history of being in the business, and yet, and here's...
Wasn't this also one of the busiest construction seasons we've ever had?
Yeah, well, the year before was because of a tremendous amount of stimulus money that was thrown on the plate. It was a little softer this year, but but there should be plenty enough for us to go around. But we've got guys. I've talked to guys that just got rid of their truck. It's just not worth it anymore. But it's come to a point where you know what, the City of Ottawa should say, we've got to protect our own first. Now I don't. You mentioned if it was a brutal snowstorm or a brutal season, we would be in Alberta if they needed our help. We would be anywhere when we needed our help. But these guys, because there's no cost, all it is just throw in some paperwork, register, and you're an equal to us. It's pathetic. It costs you about $3,500 to go over there. And like Mr. Berube was quoted in the article, when he took his truck over there, was brand new just to get some paint repainted. Holy mackerel, he was just sick. He just shake his head. So you know what? If it's not going to be equal, we've got to stand up as a province of Ontario, change that brutal two laws. This jobs protection, great bunch. They've been very supportive, but we need. I've communicated with Lisa McLeod with regards to. I've sent her an article. She's been busy. She's got to get back to me. We need to bring fairness as a two-way street. We need to make it tough. And I'll give you one more example. I was talking to one of the truckers. He had a friend of his doing roofing up over in Quebec. A guy came up, pointed to his house across the street and say, "How much would you do my house for?" He said, $3,500. The guy gave him a ticket. He was an inspector. He said, "Pack your stuff up and go home." And shame on me. And I told the guy's done. I had my roof got done by a neighbor, and he brought a Quebecer in. And when I came into my driveway and I saw a Quebec plate, I almost lost it on the guy. I said, "I'm the worst. I'm so dead set against that." But these guys can come over. One more thing, Nick. I was on the 5-year report for jobs protection, which puts the report in. I was talking to a guy named Mr. James Barry. He's on your radio station. He's the guy that IBEW get your union organized. He says that there's 1,100 Quebec electricians that come into Ontario every single day, less than 100 the other way. Yeah. And he said they come in, they cut the price, they won't join our unions, and he says it's to the point where you can either give up, put your hands up in the air and say, "You know what, I give up," or, "You know what, you're going to slam your fist down, say we've had enough. I've got 150 members representing about 600 trucks, and if we have to put a show of force, and we will be very polite. We'll do it at 11 o'clock in the morning so we don't disrupt, and we don't want to disrupt the public because we need them as friends."
That's right.
We need to show force, and damn it, we will, Nick, because we've had enough.
Ron, I appreciate your call. Thank you.